Anybody out there got some extra cash? According to reports, Michael Jordan is willing to sell a majority of his ownership in the Hornets. Now, if a sale does go through, MJ would still hold a minority share of the team. He's been the majority owner since 2010. Shannon, analyze this for me. What does this tell you?
The only thing I can come up with, Skip, is frustration. It's hard to be arguably the greatest. I mean, he's on the short list. He's either first or second, and a lot of people say he's the best player the NBA has ever seen. He's the best at one thing, and he's horrible at something else. And that's the way you can sum up his ownership or his tenure as the owner of the Hornets. Skip, has been a disaster. He's hit the ball out of the park basically once with Kemba Walker. Melo has been very good. He's made the All-Star. He's been injured an awful lot. But every other draft pick has been an epic failure. From Adam Morris to Frank Kaminsky to Bismarck Biyombo, it's just failure after failure after failure. And Skip, I didn't know this until in 2015, Michael Jordan rejected 4 first-round picks from the Celtics, including one that later became Jaylen Brown's, in order to draft Frank Kaminsky. He did that. Mm-hmm. He said no. His batting average on first-round draft picks was worse than what he hit with the Birmingham Barons. I mean, Skip, it's been a failure. And I hate to see it. I hate to say it. We don't have very many. I don't think he might be the only black. I mean, we have other minorities that own professional teams, but black, he's the only one. And it seems like that's not gonna last for much longer. Skip, I think it's just frustrating. I think it's finally beating him down, because I watch him at the game on the sidelines because I just want to see his reaction, and he seems like a beaten man. He's like, how in the hell can I be so good at one thing and so bad at something else? But Mike, the difference is, and I'm talking to John Elway, who I played with for a number of years when he became the general manager. He says this job is a lot harder than playing because I could do something about what was going on the field. He says all I can do is try to draft, add the best players I possibly can, and then it's out of my hands. And that's what Mike is having a hard time, Skip. He could control the outcome to a certain degree when he played. It has nothing to do with him now, except the fact he's drafted horrible, horrible, horrible players. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Frank Kaminsky, Adam Morris, Bismarck Biyombo, and the list goes on and on and on. And he's only made to the playoffs 3 times. They lost in the first round all 3 times. And I think it's just finally gotten the better of him. It's like, I'll own a piece of it, but I don't want the lion's share. I don't want the light shining on me the brightest because I haven't been able to get the job done.
So I hear what you said. I can't help but agree with what you said. It hurts my heart to agree with every point you just made. I am the biggest Michael Jordan fan, as you well know. He is the unquestioned GOAT to me. We have debated that a million times on this show. But that's not the point right now. The point is, this hurts my heart because he was the black owner in all of sports.
Yes.
And when he first took over, I had the highest hopes for him. But this has been now 17 seasons that we've gone through with him as the operator of the Charlotte Hornets, the GM, hands-on. And to your point, if you go 17 seasons and make the playoffs only 3 times in the NBA, and you never win a playoff series in 17 seasons, and your playoff record is 3-12, which is by far the worst over that span in the NBA, something was very wrong. The greatest at playing is the worst at picking players. And sometimes it can be that way. You and I have talked about this many times. Even John Elway has had such a hard time picking quarterbacks, the position that he played top 5 all-time quarterback and threw footballs to you as a Hall of Famer. He hasn't been a great picker of quarterbacks. Why? Because it just came so naturally to John Elway. that he never
Right.
really thought about why he was so great. Not that he was a dumb player, because he wasn't. Not that Michael was a dumb
Right.
player, because he certainly wasn't. I'm talking about the gift is so supreme that they can't see past their own nose as to why much lesser players are at least a little better than another player sitting on the table in the draft. And it's why, Shannon, we have this rampant run of GMs across sports in not only football or basketball, but also in baseball. GMs, team builders who barely played their sport in high school. They're doing it with analytics. They're doing it with different gut feelings. They're doing it with eye tests. They're seeing it better than even Michael Jordan, the greatest player ever, can see it. And to your point in the draft, I said, I was on record, it was back in my days on Cold Pizza, on Adam Morrison, can't play, just can't play. No. And he snatches him in the first round. And he leaves Brandon Roy on the table. And he leaves Kyle Lowry on the table. And he left Rondo on the table. And Adam Morrison was a flat-out bust. That might be the worst pick of all. And then you mentioned Kemba as maybe a plus, but he did leave Clay and Kawhi on the table, and Kemba's been pretty good. I'll give you pretty good. But Michael Kidd-Gilchrist has not been pretty good, and he left Bradley Beal and Dame on the table. And I'm like, God, and Cody Zeller.
Yeah, thank you.
He took Cody Zeller over Giannis. I mean, Giannis was still there. I know Giannis was a little bit of a reach at the time because you couldn't see Giannis coming, but still, man, Noah Vonleh over Zach LaVine. And then you mentioned Frank Kaminsky? Really? You took Frank Kaminsky and you left Devin Booker right there. He's sitting right there, and you take Frank Kaminsky, and then you talked about the trade that he turned down. And then I like Malik Monk. He's coming off the bench, obviously, in Sacramento, and one night he put up 41 against your Lakers, and last year he was pretty good for your Lakers, but he's not Donovan Mitchell, and Michael took Malik Monk over Donovan Mitchell. Well, it's horrendous. You just keep going to, you mentioned Biyombo. I mean, it's pathetic. And he finally, Shannon, he just said, I can't take it anymore, because I think it's just wearing his soul out, because he frets and he sweats and he tries, and it looked like he had something with LaMelo, and now LaMelo can't stay healthy. Neither can his brother. It feels like the Ball brothers are fragile.
Fragile. Skill.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You're considered the absolute best at something. And something that's related, although it's different because you're not playing the game, you're picking players to play the game, you're considered the absolute worst. So how is it? He's like, can I just like get to the middle? Yeah, can I get to the middle? I'm not saying I need to be the best, but can I get to the middle and not be the worst? But Skip, it's funny because normally the greater the player, the harder it is for him to assess talent. You look at Jerry West. Jerry West was a very good player. But Skip, he's an outlier. Ozzie Newsome,
he's an
Hall of Famer, he's an outlier. But if you look at most of the guys that played the game that were really good, then you look at the guys that didn't play the game or that was marginal at playing the game, look at the players they picked compared to the players that played and was great at the game when they picked. Because, Skip, like you said, it comes so easy to them. And we're not saying that you didn't work. Nobody is accusing Michael Jordan. No one is accusing the great players of not working. No. But they just have so much God-given ability. Skip, I believe Michael Jordan was so talented. Even if he didn't have the work ethic, I still believe he's a top 15 player because he just had that kind of God-given ability. Now you compare the God-given ability with the obsessive, maniacal work ethic, and now you get this. Well, see, all the things that made him great. Go ahead, Skip.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, to your point about Michael, when he was a player, when I covered him, I called him a supremely talented overachiever because he worked harder than anybody and he was more gifted than anybody. What do you think is going to happen? That happened. Right. Go ahead.
The best thing to ever happen, the best thing that happened to him, and the worst thing that ever happened to anybody else that played the game of basketball is when he got cut. Because that sent him on a path to say that's never, ever going to happen to me again. And he became maniacal with training, maniacal about the game of basketball. So now as his talents starts to mesh with his desire and his work ethic, you got a storm you got a Category 5 hurricane and a 9 on the Richter scale earthquake. You got the greatest force that's maybe ever been assembled. But Skip, it doesn't help you pick bad players. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Nothing what makes
Skip, Shannon.
The thing that made him great doesn't have any bearing on him picking a player.
None. So finally, Shannon, I think he's tired of having to live half the year in Charlotte because you can't be an absentee owner operator of the basketball team. You got to be there. And so he has to winter in Charlotte. And as you know, the winters aren't great in Charlotte. He just wants to play golf. So I'm pretty sure he's going to pull up stakes now, still be a minority owner, but go down to Florida where he can play golf every day and he can scratch his competitive itch playing for probably millions on the golf course, knowing him. And not have to worry. Not have to worry about picking players or being on hand to watch his Hornets lose.
You know he has that great course. I've never been there. I don't play golf, but I've heard about it. He has that great course in the Bahamas. And you're right. He's probably going to go down. I think he has a place in Jupiter, and he's going to go down there and take money off guys that are not nearly as great as him, and they might be good. But, Skip, there's something putting for when there's 100,000 or 200,000 on the line versus when there's nothing on the line. And so that's what he does. He puts you to the test. Well, you know, he's worth a couple of $1 billion to a guy that's not worth that. 100,000 is a lot of money. And then all of a sudden, your knees get to knocking and your putter goes, and you shoot the ball 10 feet past the cup. But, Skip, it's just sad. I mean, I hate it because I want to see more because I think because you see more guys now, even though not so much in basketball and baseball, you see a lot of athletes investing in soccer teams. You see Giannis just signed on with Orlando. And there's a lot of NBA and NFL players that's buying into soccer teams. So and LeBron has made it very clear. I want to be an NBA owner. And I think Michael Jordan has given a lot of, especially African Americans, the hope that this is one day possible when I never thought I'd see a black owner.
Yep, I agree. In the end, I'm relieved that he's out from under this. Or about to be.
Really? Oh, okay.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, just out from under having to run the Hornets. Yeah.
Well,
the front runner to purchase that majority stake, guys, is a group headlined by the Hornets minority owner and the Hawks minority owner. We'll see how it all shakes out. Up next, let's discuss Odell Beckham Jr. Has the market for OBJ dried up, gentlemen? Let's debate on the other side of this break.